Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, from Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977. Hi, this is Lima Kasem, telling you to keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars in Top of the Shenanigan charts, where our host talks about his personal top favorite things in pop culture, whether it be top 5, top 10, top 15, top 20, top 25, top 30, or even top 40. And now here's our hosting DJ to spin you all his personal favorite hits, Eric M. Lima. Thank you very much, Mr. Announcer, sir. Well, hello there, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977, episode 2335 of the show. How's it going, everybody? Hope you guys are have had a wonderful day. I sure did. Was a few hours ago. Came back from my sister's in Connecticut. Got celebrating one of my nephew's birthday, and it was a fun time. One of my sister's dogs got puppies, and they were all so adorable. Love them. And then got to see the kitty again, but didn't get to see our old friend Pepsi. Pepsi was a very, very tired girl. So I missed the old girl today, so it's okay. I had a great time at the party. My brother was there. We all had fun. We all had wonderful fun. And it was totally awesome. So, as you guys know, I just got a haircut, and I look good, Well, I had to get a haircut because it was getting hot. Even though I had my AC cranked in, it's hot at work and everything else. So I figured, hey, why the heck not? I need to get a cut. So, here I am, got the haircut and everything else in between. Had a great time and everything else. Well, what do I want to talk about now? This is the 24th installment of Top of the Shenanigan charts. While I talk about my personal top 10, top 5, top 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and so on. Personal favorites of anything from pop culture, from music to TV shows and video games and whatnot and everything else in between. So, again, like I said, now, I've always, when it comes to the Bofus and the Sofas, they always talk about everything pop culture. I know the majority of their topics were movies. But, however, they do, the main host, Mr. Gare Bear himself, Mr. Garrison Newkirk, Mr. Garrison 96. Check out his channel. Check out Bofus and the Sofas every Monday afternoon at 5. A little plug for them. He has a little bit of a musical soul, and I kind of like that. Classical music soul. And, you talk about, they talked about the Beach Boys the other day. That kind of prompted me and inspired me to do an episode of the Top Shenanigan charts where I talk about my personal top 10 favorite Beach Boys song. Forgotten honorable mention for the Beach Boys song, and I've got to do this. Catch a Wave. That was another one, and that was one of my favorites. So honorable mention, Catch a Wave on this one, on that list. So added to the honorable mention to the other Beach Boys hits, Beach Boys favorites, my personal favorite Beach Boys songs. So what I'm doing this time around, I know he has mentioned. Gary has mentioned the Beatles quite a few times on the Bofus and the Sofas. So I got to thinking, and I kind of racked my brain on this one. And I did listen to a few Beatles songs back in the day when I was a kid growing up. Well, I didn't listen back in the 60s. Sometimes they played golden oldies music, and, you talk about musical legends, the Beatles are. And there is no doubt in my mind. You had John Lennon, who is probably the most... almost like the political activist of the group. I don't talk politics as much. I think John Lennon likes to have peace, and that's the thing for him is peace. The 60s, you got the hippie movement and everything else, and John Lennon kind of followed under that, and he decided, well, it was, when he decided to date and marry Yoko Ono, that kind of like, that's it, you know what I mean? So it's kind of controversial about that point, but I always respect John Lennon for basically, writing music, writing songs. He has a creative mind. Another one of the gentlemen, Paul McCartney, Sir Paul McCartney, mind you. Sir Paul McCartney. In fact, I don't know if all the Beatles got knighted, but Sir Paul McCartney, another musical legend. He wrote a few songs here and there. You talk about He formed Wings with his wife, then wife Linda, at the time, And then you got, I know both Paul and Linda have been married for a long time. I think, did Linda pass away? I forget. Paul McCartney, another one. He did duet. He did a couple of duets with Michael Jackson. He did on Thriller, "The Girl Is Mine," and then in return, Michael Jackson agreed to do a duet with him with "Say, Say, Say," and then you got George Harrison, who I think one of my favorite songs, my all-time favorite song from him. It's very catchy too. "Got My Mind Set on You." I thought it was pretty catchy. And then you got Ringo Starr, the drummer of the group, and everything else in between. And I tell you one thing: if I had a drumming aspirations, could be lots of great drummers of bands past. You got the Ringo Starr, you got Tommy Lee from Motley Crue, you got Max Weinberg from the E Street Band. He did Conan O'Brien as well. Let's see, the Late Night with Conan O'Brien. He was the band leader of that. There's lots of great drummers out there. So lots of great drumming legends, musical legends, and all that. The Beatles were bar none the biggest musical legends. England's probably the greatest export would be the Beatles when it comes to music. Beatles got the British invasion rolling. They got they bring in a whole new different kind of music, a whole new different kind of look in the '60s. And you get the mod era in the '60s and all that. And I thought it was, so the Beatles had some great, cool songs. And I'm going to give you an honorable mention before I give you my personal top 10 favorite Beatles songs. And one song, honorable mention, "I Am the Walrus," "Goob Goob Gajoob." I am the horse. I am the Eggman. I am the walrus. Goob Goob Gajoob. And it's like. I'll tell you, the Beatles were probably the most unique band in history, musical band in history, in my opinion. But they're I'm not dissing them or anything like that because they're musical legends. How are you dissing musical legends? Come on now, and they're totally awesome. They're the Beatles. They were the Beatles. It's sad what happened. Like I say, Lennon and Harrison are passed away. Now it's McCartney and Ringo left. So. The funny part is, on the way to my sister's house in Connecticut this morning, my dad put on some Beach Boys. My father put on some Beach Boys, and it's pretty cool. We chatted a little bit about the Beach Boys and music. I think he did that because Brian Wilson passed away. And my dad, and since today is the first day of summer, by the way, so bada bing, bada boom, there you go, right? And then we listened to a little bit of Neil Diamond, on the rest of the way there, and then on the way back. We listened to some Neil Diamond, "Sweet Caroline." We listened to that song. My mother loves the song "America," which is so super cool. And to me, my dad didn't put on "Heartlight." I'm kind of disappointed my father did not put on "Good Vibrations." It's one of my favorite Beach Boys songs. Not only that, one of my favorite Neil Diamond songs is "Turn On Your Heartlight." But he did, the funny thing is we put on "I'm a Believer." Said, "Hey, the Monkees sang this song." They said, "Yeah, he wrote it for the Monkees," and I think I believe he wrote a little bit "Me," a little bit "You" as well. I think, But anyways, so I figured, well, why the heck not? I figured we'd talk about musical legends. I think I'm doing this to not only just thank the Bofus and Sofas for inspiring me, especially you, Gary, because you're the musical mind. Gary's the musical mind of Bofus. But we're talking about also my father, who is, he loves these bands of the old '60s, the Beach Boys and all that. Musical legends, all right. Beach Boys, musical legends. So are the Beatles. Let's get to the list. And then it's been a wonderful day. It's been a crazy day, wonderful day, insane day. What day it is? All right. Let's start off with number 10. 8 days a week. I'm going to put 8 days a week at number 10, and 8 days a week, and so you got that. And then number 9, Ticket to Ride. She's got a ticket to ride. I love that song. I'm not going to sing the whole thing because I don't want to get copyright or anything. All right, number 8, Hard Day's Night. one of my favorite. I've been a hard day's night, and I've been working like I go. Yeah, that's a good song. Number 7. Number 7, Can't Buy Me Love. No. Yeah, number 7 will be Here Comes the Sun. All right. Number 6 is You Can't Buy Me Love. Can't Buy Me Love. You know, Here Comes the Sun. Do. That's great for days like today. At the over here in the South Coast, New Bedford, Massachusetts, we had 14 straight Saturdays full of rain. That means it rained every single Saturday since March, for goodness sakes. And now we're in June. We're finally the 14. Oh, you're talking about 12 weeks. You're talking about 4 weeks a month. Yeah. Since March, since the beginning of March, for goodness sakes. 14 weeks in a row with rain, and it stopped. And it stopped today. And number 7, Here Comes the Sun. Appropriate for that. And number 6, Can't Buy Me Love. Money can't buy me love. Can't buy me love. Oh, it can't turn out to be song. Number 5, Twist and Shout. Twist and Shout. Come on, baby, now. Come on, baby. Twist and shout. Twist and shout. And then, this is going to be a tough one. This is going to be a tough one to get my top 4 favorite Beatles songs. Because the rest of these songs are very catchy. Have 4 will be Help. I like Help. Help. I need somebody help. Just anybody help. That's what. Remember, these are my personal favorite Beatles songs, mind you. So number 4, 3. Come Together. Got to be free. We'll come together right now. Over me. Alright. So that's 3. Alright, number 2. Gonna see it my way. Gonna see it your way. We can work it out. We can work it out. Life is very short, and there's no time for fussing and fighting, my friend. I kind of butchered that one up, but oh well. I'm not much of a talented singer. I love playing the drums. I love music. And my number 1 personal favorite Beatles song, Good Day, Sunshine. 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 Yeah, I love that. It's a very catchy song. It's like it had a little like vaudevillian type music with the piano and stuff, and you're walking down the street, and you like singing, you're like doing a funky dance, and you're like, good day, sunshine. Good day, sunshine. Good day, sunshine. You know what I mean? Paul McCartney wrote that one. I thought it was pretty cool. So, that is my top 10 personal favorite Beatles songs. As an honorable mention, I Am the Walrus, Goob Goob Gajoob, and all that. Who knows when to come up with my 25th installment of that. Actually, now beware this week. I believe either Wednesday or Thursday will mark 30 years since I worked my first job in the real world, and that would be Ruby Tuesday. In fact, I am going to have nostalgic shenanigans on Ruby Tuesday. That's right. There's an episode of Nostalgic Shenanigans on Ruby Tuesday. I'm going to talk a little bit about that if I can. After all, that's where my legacy, basically, my social legacy kind of started. If it had not been for Ruby Tuesdays, I wouldn't be doing all the stuff that I would be able to do, buy all the stuff that I was unable to buy. It's just a way of saying thank you. So, that is it for today's episode of Eric Lima Shenanigans in 1977. Hope you guys have a wonderful. Next up, it'll be AEW Collision. I'll be reporting on that. But also, Chillin' with Jordy will be on in about 12 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. I plan on joining him, so I figure I'd do this now. I'm going to upload it. I'm going to have some little bit of fun with this, okay? So I want to thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you guys later on. All right? I got to go. God bless you guys. Seriously. You guys have a wonderful, totally awesome rest of your night. Do your thing. Do the thing, man. Have fun. And I'll see you on the next episode of the show. And until that next episode comes rolling around, Mr. Announcer, sir, please take us home. That is all for today's episode of the show. This is Mr. Announcer speaking for Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977. A Big Beefy E and do it for Bob Saget production and in association with a Raven Bofa 3000 telepictures and distribution. Thank you for watching another episode of Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977. See you later on the next episode of the show. Goodbye for now.